Alright guys, I just want to keep this short because if I'm being honest, I didn't actually really dislike this show that much in the third season, and I'm going to review the show as a whole. So, I don't want to get it twisted. The short I made on Wednesday, I did enjoy season 3. I did enjoy the finale. I thought it was a really good episode of the show. I don't think there's many better episodes. It felt too Disney to me that they won so easily. But we'll get to that later. Let's review the whole show, and then we'll get over to the aspect of the season 3 finale, which is why I'm sure probably most of you clicked on the videos because I called it rubbish. So we'll just start with season 1. So season 1 I really liked because we got introduced to these characters properly. We got a lot more depth to them, unlike in season 7 of the Clone Wars. We just got layers to each character, I think. And obviously Crosshair being the villain of the season. I didn't watch any trailers of the show or anything. It was really unexpected to me. I really liked the first episode. Started on a 50-minute, it ended in 50-minute. That was poetry. But season 1 overall, I liked it because obviously they had to get the inhibitor chips out. There was a lot of stories in season 1 that they told and that they were going for. There was a lot of filler as well because of Sid, which was a really good exclusion from season 3 that we didn't have Sid. I think Sid just took up so much time in this show that was wasted, in particular in season 2 with her missions that we just probably didn't need. But they were still fun episodes, but I think season 2 suffers with this problem a bit more than season 1, if I'm being honest. Season 1's not Sid missions as such, but the episodes that weren't into the main story, like the inhibitor chip and the Cad Bane side mission where he got Omega and stuff, I really liked it. The Kamino finale was really good. It was quite dark. I wasn't really expecting to destroy Kamino. I do think it might be the weakest finale though. I've got to rank all of these finales honestly. And to me, it is still a stronger finale than the season 3 finale. I really enjoyed it, but we'll get to that later. Season 2. So if I'm ranking season 1, if I'm being honest, I would give season 1 a solid maybe 7 or 8 out of 10 because I really enjoyed season 1. Season 2 is where things get a bit different in my opinion, because while I do think season 2 is a good series of the show, me and my friend watched this quite a lot every day as soon as an episode would air, which is like 8 o'clock in the morning my time. And I've got to be honest, in hindsight, the episodes are fun, but I couldn't tell you the main story of season 2. A year on, I can remember some distinct finer details, like I can remember Tech dying, I can remember them taking Omega, I can remember some of the Sid missions that were really pointless. I can remember some of this season. I can remember our introduction to the planet where they're, not meant to be found and stuff like this. This was a fun season of Bad Batch, but I think the storyline was so very weak that it wasn't really something new that we hadn't experienced before. The Empire were after Omega, like what's new really? Like, they were after her, they're trying to experiment on her. That's from my memory what happened. I did really enjoy season 2 for the most part. The storyline episodes were really good. Especially the one with Crosshair where he turns is a really good episode, and then the last few episodes are really good as well, a lot darker. I think if I'm going to rank season 1 and 2, I would rank season 1 above season 2, I'd rank season 3 above season 1, but season 2, when it does get to the storyline, is good. But because season 2 spends so far away from the storyline, I don't think it can be better than 1 or 3, because it just spends so many of its, I think it's 18 episodes, correct me if I'm wrong, maybe 16. It spends so much time away from building the main story up. We get good episodes, like we get one with Cody. I think that's a really fun episode. Obviously that's very early into the season and we kind of get nothing else of him after this. I thought the first 2 episodes of this season were really weak. I've got to be brutally honest, I can't, Ruins and Spoils of War to me just were really weak intro episodes, and they're probably the weakest of the show. Because season 1's intro is amazing, and season 3's intro is amazing as well. I think this is the weakest intro to the show. But when you scroll further up, I think episodes, like when you look at this from this perspective, you got episodes like Entombed where we didn't get any storyline expansion. The same with the Solitary Clone, really. Obviously Crosshair gets a bit of development, but we get all of this stuff about Cody, and he doesn't really come back again for anything. I didn't really like what they did with Season 2, because Season 2 opened so many holes for plots in Season 3 that they never used, which we'll get to later. But, like, thinking of this, like, the Zilla Beast episode was really good, but when you get, like, late into the season, this was 16 episodes, you get an episode like The Outpost, a really good episode, Metamorphosis, a really good episode. These two episodes were great. And then you get Pabu, which in my opinion, while it sets up obviously the location where they're gonna hide and stuff, I think it's probably the worst episode of the whole show because nothing happens. I remember watching Star Wars Theory, like, review of this episode, and I completely agree with everything he said in it. What is the point in this episode? They could have done this as, you know, a part of an episode. It didn't need an entire episode, but we'll move on from Season 2. We'll look at Plan 99 quickly. I think the ending of this season was really solid. The finale of this season, in my opinion, is the best one. When I look at it from this perspective, I do think the finale of this one is the best. Then Season 1 and Season 3, we'll talk about that again later. But Plan 99 is really good. We get a really dark ending. Obviously, Tech dies, they all get captured. They don't get a happy ending like they do in Season 3. Overall, I really like this episode. But now we move to Season 3, which is obviously what everyone's been waiting for. Before we get to Season 3, guys, my name's LV. I make Star Wars videos, I stream games, I talk about films. So boys, if that looks like a bit of you and something you'd enjoy, please leave a like, subscribe to the channel, it would really help me out, I'd really appreciate it. And let's get on to the Season 3 review. So Season 3 is the best. It hands down is the best, right? I don't want to get this twisted when I start talking about the finale. Season 3 is the best. Every single episode in this season contributes to the greater story, which I really like, because we don't really get any filler. While some of the episodes at the end I do think are a bit questionable, like the 2 Rampart ones, I think they could have done in one part. We can ignore that. We can ignore that and we can move on, because I don't think that's that important in the grand scheme of the season. The starting episode of Season 3 is, in my opinion, the best in the entire show. While a lot more action happens in Season 1, don't get me wrong, I really like the Season 1 intro as well. But Season 3's intro episode, for me, is the best, because it displays, and I remember watching it, and it just gave me this aura that I'd never felt watching a TV show before. It was like, it was gritty, it was dark, it almost felt like it was draining me watching the episode, but I was enjoying it. Like, I could feel that, like, my life was draining away, like, the people in Tantus watching the episode, because they were slurring the scenes, they were making the music slur, they were making the scenes longer, winding out dialogue. I think what they did was just really good choices for this episode. I really enjoyed it overall. It was just, I thought this episode was arguably not the best of the season, but aura-wise and feeling-wise, 100% one of my favourite episodes in the show. 100%. There was one episode in this season that it did contribute to the greater story with Asajj Ventress, but I did like, but I felt was a bit unnecessary. The Fennec Shan one was a bit, that just happened, really. I kind of walked away from the episode and I didn't really feel like I gained anything from it, but I'm not really too bothered. I really enjoyed the season overall. And another episode I really enjoyed was episode 4. And I think this episode may go very unnoticed, because I think episode 4, while again, it's not like the most action-packed episode, it's not the most story-accommodating episode. It develops Crosshair, it develops Omega, it develops their Bond as characters. But this episode, for me, is one of my favourites in this season, because it shows a lot of things in the Empire that we knew but we haven't really seen. The Empire's corruption, so obviously Omega beat the guy in gambling in the restaurant, and obviously he gambled against a young child. Then he lost, then demanded a fee for gambling, and then basically got all his money back. That was the first thing. The second was just how the Empire had affected this world. You know, they're all happy in the bar and stuff, and then the Imperials walk in, and while the Imperial that we saw in this episode, if I'm being honest, was I would say, like, he was a nicer Imperial to what we've seen in the past. He was a nicer Imperial. He was more, obviously he's taking their money and that's just wrong, isn't it? But he was a lot nicer than someone like Tarkin, Krennic, Thrawn. Like, obviously he's not on their level, but all of the Imperials that we've seen in, like, Rebels, Rogue One, they didn't have any depth. Like, they didn't really have any, they were just working. They were doing what they wanted to do because that's what they were having to do. Thrawn and Krennic are exceptions to this, but like Tarkin, any person we saw in Rebels to me were just, they were just workers. They were just slaves to the Empire. But this guy, I really liked it because obviously we saw that he wanted to gamble. He just did things that a normal human would do that I don't think another Imperial officer would do. So I just really liked that. So then we get to the money, the finale. And I think I got this a bit twisted in the short because the YouTube shorts are annoying because they're only 60 seconds. So I couldn't really voice my opinion in the way I wanted to. So the finale. I liked the finale, don't get me wrong. I thought the finale was a great episode of the show. And definitely one of the better ones of the show. It just didn't hit for me the way that the other two did prior to this one. But I saw a lot of comments on the video and I agree with almost every single one of them. There was a comment I think I saw on a TikTok. It was saying that the episode's like action violence was a lot more darker to what we've seen, and it was I agree with you, it was a lot more Clone Wars-esque in the respect that like Crosshair got his hand cut off. We didn't need that to happen, but it did. But talking about the finale as a whole, as an episode, the reason I didn't like it or didn't enjoy it as much as the others is I think the others to me answered questions that we had about the show in the previous. This one did answer a question. We got the Zello Beast. But to me, there were so many unanswered things in this episode that we got that just still remain to this day a mystery and will probably forever remain a mystery. We got what happened to Cody. Cody gets introduced and he gets flung aside. Wolf gets introduced. He gets flung aside. I don't actually know what the name of this character is, but this black trooper that everyone was like, okay, he's going to be Cody, he's going to be Tech, was just no one. Now, I don't mind that. I always thought he was going to be no one. I said this from day one. I always thought this clone was going to be nothing. I don't think he was going to be anything. But I really just think that the introduction of this character, to have him play such a major role in this season, to have him just be nothing was a bit cheap. But I didn't mind it. I kind of thought for Tech's character, it was probably better that he didn't come back and he stayed dead, and I'm really happy they left Tech alone. But with Cody, for example, I wouldn't have minded it being Cody, because we haven't really seen Cody's fate after the Empire. But I didn't mind it being no one, to be honest. There is another negative of this episode, and it is, to me, and I did see a comment saying that on the video that I made, that one of the members of the squad dying would just be a cheap way to rise the tension. And in hindsight, yes it would. I agree. I could not agree more. But also, I think with this being the last time I think we're going to see these set of characters, or most of them, I just don't understand how now all of them live, but they don't do anything in any other media. Now obviously this is made after any other media was made, but like with Rogue One, for example, all of Rogue One's characters died, accumulating and accommodating for the larger story ahead. I thought this was going to happen with the Bad Batch, because now we've got a bunch of rogue clones that are just sat getting old doing nothing. There's a happy ending for them. I really enjoyed the ending. The Omega and Hunter ending was amazing, by the way. I'm not getting it twisted. Don't get it twisted. I loved it. But to me, I thought at least one of them should have died, because I don't know where they're going to fit in anymore. And yes, they get the happy ending, but the Rebels and the Resistance could have used these guys. I think that's just the fact of the matter for me anyway, but obviously this was made afterwards. This doesn't really accommodate to anything, so it doesn't bother me as much. But in hindsight, yeah, I think it would have been a cheap thing to do to kill them off. But I still think one of them should have died, in my opinion. But we'll forget about that. So the positives of this episode then. Oh wow, a lot of things. We'll start with, obviously I think the action in this episode is great. And I'm tired of seeing people say that they did Scorch and they did Hemlock dirty with their deaths. No, they didn't. Again, this is another comment I saw. Scorch got what he deserved by betraying the clones and betraying his brothers. He died in a dishonorable way because he was dishonorable to the people that he was respecting. That's poetry of Star Wars. He died dishonorably, and not in an honorable way that people wanted, because Scorch was not honorable to the people that he was honorable to in the Clone War. He switched up. Hemlock, I don't care. I liked Hemlock as a character. I mean, I wasn't bothered about him dying, but I already thought in the scene maybe Omega was going to die somehow, that she's going to fall off with Hemlock, but I thought this was a really good scene overall on the bridge. I really enjoyed it. The ending of this episode is top notch, I must say. This episode's ending, I think this ending isn't as good as Season 2's finale. I'm going to put it out there. It's better than Season 1's, but it's not as good as Season 2's. I'm just someone that likes a bit of a darker ending for things. Like, I don't know, I think it's refreshing to see that people don't win all the time. But this ending is by far one of my favourite parts of the show. Again, I don't know. Like, right, Tarkin, right? He comes to the base. I've forgotten a bit of the episode already, sorry. But we have a Zillo Beast just running around on Tantis now. Like, did the Empire not use this Zillo Beast? I think we need more media after the Bad Batch, because I think what the Bad Batch has left open is really good for future storylines. But this season overall was great. This season was one of the best seasons. I would go as far to say that I would put this season over some of the seasons of the Clone Wars. I think I would. I think I genuinely would put it over some of the seasons of the Clone Wars. Let me know what you guys thought of Season 3 in the comments, but now, let's just rank the seasons and really quickly. I think Season 3 goes bottom for me. I think it's just self-explanatory, I've already said it. I don't really know what more I can say that I haven't said. I think it's just mostly filler. It doesn't really accumulate for the main story. I would then put Season 1, because Season 1 again suffers from a similar problem, but not as bad. And then I'll put Season 3, because Season 3 is straight to the point, it's concise, it does it all. It gets everything going, it accommodates to the story every single episode, whether or not they do it in good ways. Season 3 is hands down the best. And then finale-wise, I would put Season 3 still at the bottom for me, because I like the fact that in 1 and 2's finale, they didn't quite get the happy ending that, you know, Disney likes to go with for most things. I liked that. I liked the switch up. I thought that was going to happen for Season 3. It didn't. It doesn't bother me that much, but I don't like the fact that they won so easily. It felt a bit cheese that they got onto Tantis, this secure facility. They walked in there, they got out. Obviously, it wasn't easy. A lot of people died. These shadow clones just did nothing. They didn't cut it for me. I thought they were just so stupid. They all just died. They were cool to begin with. When they first got shown and they were diffing them, fine. But they all got absolutely rolled. Now, I like the message that this Season 3 sent overall. Let me know what you guys know in the comments. That's all I have to say, really. This is a long video. There was 3 seasons of this show that I wanted to talk about. Them all. Let me know what you thought in the comments below, like I just said. Guys, I'll see you in the next one.